So let's look at Brazil, and let's look at the 6 factors in Brazil. So in Brazil, there are a lot of dentists. So this is a structural aspect of Brazil. So what does it mean when you have a lot of dentists? It means that your prices are going to be cost controlled because there is a lot of competition among the dentists. Real plus. There are a lot of small dental practices that aren't consolidated. What does that mean? Good news for you if you're odontopref, because again, they're small. They could benefit from the value-added services you provide them, a real big plus. Any negatives in the structure? Well, it's a huge negative. So there is a competitor company. There are some competitors, and it's called Amil. Amil is the subject of another case study of mine, and it is a vertically integrated health insurer. English, this means they own their own hospitals, they salary their doctors, they provide health insurance. It's a titan of a company and has a sideline in dental insurance, but the health insurance business is so much bigger business, they really haven't paid all that much attention to the dental side. But recently, an American company called United, another huge health insurer, bought Amil, bought them for about $6 billion. And it bought them to penetrate the Brazilian market. So, if I'm odontopref, I would get a really serious migraine headache if I had read about the purchase of Arrival by this deep-pocket American company that wants to get deeper in Brazil, because I would think that sooner or later they're going to get very, very serious about competing in the dental business. So another plus about the structure in Brazil is they're really not in the small, medium enterprise market. There are a lot of them. The Brazilian economy is a very growing economy. That's a plus. And the whole business still has relatively low penetration. Plus, odontopref was purchased by a banking company, which has tremendous channels of distribution to reach individuals who do banking with that company. So the structure is a plus and the structure is a minus. Lots and lots of pluses. There is a lot of supply. There's a lot of underpenetrated demand. You've got a partner with great sales channels. Remember, we talked about sales channels when we talked about vitality. But the negative is this scary company that's just gotten acquired by an even scarier deep-pocket U.S. company that may become very aggressive in the dental insurance market. So give it, what do we give it? It's pretty good, but it's got a big negative on the structure. Financing. So Brazil's big, and you probably are too young to remember all of this, but Brazil was one of these countries with hyperinflation, where the currency became just diminished tremendously. But the government of Brazil finally got its hyperinflation under control, and Brazil, filled with brilliant, energetic, wonderful people, started growing. But the GDP growth has started to sputter. And Brazil does have this history of violent ups and downs. That's very unsettling for a business. Plus, the dental market, for whatever reason, has slowed down. They also have a very low ratio of expenses out of revenues that are paid for dental care. This is kind of a plus. The company's very profitable. Its profit margin is about double that of an American health insurer, but it may be too profitable. We'll get to that when we discuss public policy. So public policy in Brazil is aggressive. They aggressively regulate the pricing of individual plans, which makes it, from odontoprev's perspective, even though it's a big market, with active government regulation of the pricing, it may not be such an attractive market. The government's not that active in regulating corporate plans, so where they are is a pretty good place to be as far as public policy goes. But if they want to expand to the individual market, they're going to face a lot more price regulation than they currently do. Brazil doesn't have a safety net for dentistry in its universal coverage, so that's a plus for odontoprev. But it's got some big negatives. One is how profitable they are. And in part, they're profitable because they're very well managed and they have low administrative expense. Give them points for that. That's hard to do. But in part, they're profitable because they don't pay out that much of every dollar for dental benefits. An activist government, a populist government, the kind of government that Brazil has, may focus on them and say, you know what? You're making too much money. You're paying out too little in dental expenses. You've got to lower your prices. Plus, the Brazilian government's pretty active in antitrust enforcement. Why is that important? Well, earlier we said in the structure there are a lot of little dental practices around. But is the Brazilian government going to permit odontoprev to buy them up? Not so clear. Plus, it's very active in its oversight of healthcare. So the financing, good and bad, public policy, good and bad. What about the other of the 6 factors in Brazil? So let's turn, for example, to consumers. In Brazil, Brazilians like dentistry. So that's a huge plus. Americans may not care that much about dentistry. And there are some other countries that I will not name whose denizens are well known for their incredibly crooked teeth. So Brazil's not one of those countries. They like dentistry, they have beautiful teeth, and they've got a lot of dentists. Plus, odontoprev has a great brand name. That's very valuable. People like odontoprev and trust odontoprev. A problem that may face them is that they have related businesses that are owned by odontoprev and they sell those services to the dentist. If the consumers or public policy finds out about this, that's not something people love, that here is my purveyor of goods and services, and he's buying from the parent company all other types of goods and services. I think it's a little worrisome. What about the technology part of it? Well, if you're going to manage a dental practice or manage dental insurance, you need a lot of data. It's a financial business. You need to know a lot about your customers. It is data intensive, but dentistry is easier to keep track of than medicine. Not that dentistry isn't sophisticated and highly skilled, but there's not as much variety as there is in medicine. And Odontoprev has terrific IT software. Where the problem is in technology is when you're pricing an insurance policy, you need a lot of information about your potential customers, and they don't have it in the individual or the small to medium enterprise market. So technology, internally to Odontoprev, they're very wired. They're very good at what they do. But if they're thinking about going into the individual or the SME market, they've got some very serious shortcomings because they don't have the data that they can use to price the insurance policies accurately. So the last one that's left in Brazil is, are they accountable? I think they have very good accountability mechanisms. They conduct audits of the dentist, of the quality of their work. They benchmark the dentists against each other. They consult to dentists who need improvement in their quality. I think this is terrific. Plus, they have a very interesting insurance policy, which I love. It's a 3-year policy, and they will invest a lot in the beginning to prevent dental disease. The reason it's a 3-year policy is they hope that by preventing dental disease in year 1, they have lower costs in year 2 or 3. You know what? I'd love to sign up for a policy like this where my healthcare provider is interested in my long-term healthcare status. I think that makes them very accountable. Plus, they have personalized records. They have a call center. They have a lot of instruments of accountability in Brazil. So where are we on the 6 factors in Brazil? Well, on the structure side, there is a lot of opportunity for expansion, but Amil, its big competitor, is a very worrisome force. On the financing side, it could integrate a lot of small firms, but the economy is jumping around. It kind of makes me nervous. I'm sure it makes them nervous. And what makes them nervous is that Brazil, which had a history of disastrous bouncing around, is starting to bounce around again as an economy. Public policy is kind of worrisome. Brazil is a very populist regime traditionally. They're vigorously antitrust. They are interested in doing what's right for the people, which a government should be interested in doing. And they regulate the individual market. They may force them to lower their prices. So public policy is kind of worrisome from Odontoprev's point of view. Technology, they're good. They're very good at it, but a worrisome thing is if they're going to go into new markets, individuals, small, medium enterprises, they don't have the data. Accountability, wow, are they strong in it? And consumers, they're positive toward dentistry, positive toward Odontoprev, but if they find out about these related businesses that are owned by Odontoprev, that soup may get a little spoiled. So Brazil, I don't know. It looked superficially like it's a great market to expand in. Lots of unsatisfied demand and lots of supply of dentists you could use to satisfy it. But there are negatives. The new markets, individual, small, medium enterprises, much more highly regulated, plus they don't have the data about those markets. EMEA is waiting in the wings and may just spring as a massive competitor, especially given the profitability of odontopref. So let's look at Mexico.